Markets are all rolled up over the Apple ruling in the Samsung case that came out late on Friday. Apple won $1 billion, say, because of Samsung infringing on some of its patents. Samsung's market value came down. Apple's is up some $10 billion. All kinds of implications for the case. Richard, you have kind of an interesting thought on this.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. First of all, this is a U.S. case. There's lots of this litigation going on. Thinking about the U.S., Samsung's market share in the U.S. for handsets, iPhones, tablets, those kind of things, is actually pretty small. And Samsung can easily afford this. The question really is what happens with future models and future software on these Android phones, which, you know, I think everybody would recognize that after Apple produced the iPhone, it revolutionized that business, and a lot of the newcomers look kind of similar, and that's really what this patent.
There's a question about stifled innovation, really. I mean, and that's sort of what Samsung was claiming, I guess, and they're considering appealing.
Well, that's right. I mean, there's a real problem with patents generally in the United States and around the world, in that there's a feeling there are too many of them, they're too fuzzy, it's hard to know what's allowed, what's patented, what's not. Just a month or so ago, Judge Richard Posner in Chicago, in another case involving Apple versus Motorola, said, look, you guys are fighting over patents. I don't see that you have any damages here. I don't see that either one of you have harmed each other. I think you're just arguing over things that are essentially silly. And I'm going to throw the case out.
Obviously, the California court on Friday decided something different. Including, as Samsung put it, that Apple had a monopoly over square rectangles with rounded corners, which is, you know.
Well, there is an irony to this in the sense that Apple sort of, I mean, in a way, didn't steal, but took technology that Xerox had developed and made it better. And this is the innovation question that I guess is what Samsung basically said he was doing.
I think this is one of the interesting things about this, and one reason maybe the investors in Samsung at least have overreacted a little bit. This is a U.S. decision. I think the U.S. courts have shown themselves more willing than courts in most other places to protect these very broad brush things like rectangles.
Well, that's right. And there are some dozens, literally dozens of similar cases involving Apple that Apple has brought. Sometimes Apple has been sued in about 10 or 12 countries around the world. Some go for Apple, some go for Motorola or Samsung, and there's really no consensus over what's protected, what a valid patent is, and what it should be.
For instance, the decision in Seoul on Friday was Samsung's home turf, but California is Apple's home turf. The decision in Seoul was much more even-handed. And then there doesn't appear to be this intellectual property battle going on in the courts.
In China,
Samsung
has a big market,
much bigger market, or a somewhat bigger market share.
And the patent cases there are probably not.
Well, I don't think the system is likely to take the same view as the U.S. system of protecting these broad brush things, which seem kind of second nature now to users of smartphones.
All right, we'll leave it there. We'll keep an eye on Apple, and we'll be back with more Breaking Views tomorrow.